Yeah, I really want people to take a step back in their everyday lives and realize that no one's out to get you. Things happen in our lives. It's okay to have a difference of opinion, whether it's politically, spiritually, when it comes to sexuality, whatever it might be. It's okay. It is okay to agree to disagree, because at the end of the day, that person is your fellow human being. They're trying to do the best at life, just like you are. Give them a hug, smile at them.
Welcome to Keeping Tabs. I'm Tabitha Croc, and every Monday, I talk to someone here in North Idaho with the goal to connect more people in the Coeur d'Alene area. And then every Friday, I talk to someone outside the community to bring in a new perspective and to learn a little bit about yourself. Good morning. I have my dear friend with me, Brandon, Mr. Gratitude. I actually have met him a while ago on a social media platform called TikTok, and he has an amazing podcast. He is putting out content. He's a life coach. He helps people with relationships. He does some really amazing things for people, inspiring them to become their best self and really bringing light and love into the world. So thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, of course. I like that intro. And I thought I gave you a good intro on my podcast. Dang. You gotta one up me there, huh?
You know I do. So first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself, like what you're up to right now. I know you've been on a little while ago, but we're going to dig a little deeper into the relationship, the coaching, and really what you do to help
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. So going back to kind of the social media world, social media kind of took off for me over the last year and a half, as it has for a lot of people. I got into this back in 2007 when I got divorced in 2007, and I knew that I had a gift to shine on the world. I just didn't really know what outlet, what platform to use to shine that gift, because the internet hadn't really exploded the way it did now back in 2007. I mean, we didn't even have Facebook in 2007. So that is kind of the background and journey. Most recently left corporate America, and now I'm consulting full time, podcasting full time, social media full time. So it's kind of weird and kind of odd to say at 41, I'm retired realistically. And I love it. So there you go.
Well, and it's really great. We were stuck in a year of what do we do with our time? Where do we go? We're not working in offices, and you really dove into inspiring people to really helping people with their relationships, men and women, and just kind of also being raw and real. And then you're using this platform like TikTok to actually just speak to people. And what's cool about it, I don't know if you agree with this, but I feel like when you talk to me, it's almost like you're only talking to me. So I really listen and engage with your content. And I think that's what you created, even though you're not verified yet, but you'll get there.
Yeah. What is up with that? Yeah, that's all I know is, sometimes people take that the wrong way, because I could be better with my tact, but it's like you have to decide at the end of the day, what do you want? Do you want somebody that maybe not be the most tactful, but they're honest, they're real, they're going to help you be bigger, better, and stronger, or somebody that sugarcoats and their tact might be a little better and they're not going to get you down the right path. They're going to tell you what you want to hear. I'm not that guy. So that's where I separate myself from a lot of other, not only content creators, influencers, but life consultant, life coaches, relationship coaches as well.
Yeah, and that's amazing. You're really diving into it now. So what is, I guess someone listening, what would be someone gets out of a relationship? And I know you deal with like narcissism and people that are, dealing with really kind of awful relationships. Is there like one piece of advice if someone's getting out of that and like lost? What is one piece of advice that you think that would help anybody going through that right now?
Yeah, the number one thing is self-love. Here's what I always tell my clients is this is it's okay. It's amazing to fall in love. It's amazing to have a relationship, but the problem is people losing their identities and losing themselves inside of a relationship. And one of two things is going to happen. Either you're going to stay with that person the rest of your life, and that person's going to pass away and die on you one day, or that person's going to decide they don't love you anymore, they don't want to be with you anymore, and they're going to leave you alone in that relationship. If you don't have self-love and your independence and know how to survive without that person, it's going to be a painful experience and a painful process.
And do you use like your past experience and those kind of things to really guide you and help others?
Oh, it's not only my past experience, but it's through the experience of others, through stories I've heard, through things I've seen. And really, relation wise, people want somebody that they can relate to over somebody that sits in a classroom to get an education. So,
Well, and so true. I'm learning a lot through, I mean, I've heard this younger people trying to get jobs. They're not getting jobs. They're like, I have a master's and I have this and I have this.
yeah,
And they're like, well, you have no experience. I'm not going to hire someone that I has no experience and I'm going to have to teach everything too. Yeah, you have the education, which is great, but you got to have that experience in any realm, I think.
100%. And it's funny because, and you've been in my live sessions before, sometimes in my live sessions, I'll take on live questions, I'll take on questions, or people just come in there completely heartbroken and they turn to me because they know what I do. And then you get that one person that's always like, well, why should I take advice from you? What's your degree in? What are you certified in? And I'm like, here we go. And, experience trumps the classroom all day long. And I'm obviously doing something right when I have some of the top psychologists in the world, I'm sorry, in the country coming to me, wanting to work with me, wanting to be on my podcast. And I got to be doing something right. So,
Right. And well, it's obviously you are helping people and that's what you're doing right is that someone's like, I mean, if you've been go into a live session with him and you watch these people go like light bulbs almost, they're like, oh, that makes sense. I'm dealing with this. I need to do this. Or
yeah.
it's so simple. Like when you talk about ghosting people and how people are like,
Ooh,
I need a reason why you're leaving me. And you're like, no, why?
yeah. Yeah. No, that is amazing that you brought that up because anybody that's listening, I want them to know that closure is overrated. Closure is your ego. You don't need it. It's only going to hurt you more than it's going to benefit you. And an analogy I always like to use is you're on your last day of your job. You love your job. You go in, they're ready to fire you. They're going to fire you. Your last check is made. They call you in the office and they say, hey, Joe, Jessica, whatever, whoever your name is, today's your last day with the company. We're letting you go. Do you really think that if you're standing there in that office, stomping your feet, crying, but I love this company, I've done so much, please keep me? Do you think they're going to keep you? Do you think they're going to tell you why they fired you? They might, but they don't have to. It's the same thing in a relationship. If they don't want to be with you, let them go. They're doing you a favor. Let them go.
Exactly. Why would you want to stay with a person that doesn't want to be with you? Like that's
Yeah.
what I get is like, why? Why do you want to still stick around and like hopefully that they'll change their mind and so I love that you're just kind of like, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. This is actually happening. They're just not in love with you. It's that.
Yep. Yeah, there's polarity shifts all the time in relationships, and the more people accept that and adapt to that, the more peaceful their life's going to be. And I'm not trying to be unempathetic to the situation. We
Right.
all go through pain, and it's awful. But what you do with that pain is what's going to define the rest of your life.
Mm.
So,
So you said, I'm going to go back to what you said earlier is you said to be in your power. And so
mhm.
I know what that means, but someone listening might not understand what does being in your power mean?
Great question. Being in your power, that's another thing I talk about a lot, is going back, it's going back to that self-love and that independence. And then when you do find somebody, not losing that power. So for example, if I start to like somebody, I start to grow a connection with them. I'm not going to sit around all day and wait. Oh my gosh, are they going to text me? Oh my gosh, are they going to call me? Don't do that. Don't do that. Because the moment you do that, you're coming out of your power and you're becoming something that you're not, and you're putting that individual on a pedestal. Live your life, be your awesome self, love yourself, and stay in your power.
And oh gosh, that's so, I mean, it's such a important thing because at the end of the day, at the end of your life, whatever, it's really about you and what makes you happy. And like, you really want to identify a person that's the only thing that's going to make you happy.
Yeah, and people do. It's very common. It's sadly common.
So if you had a billboard, you live in Arizona. So if you had a big billboard, what would your billboard either say or have on it? And I think I asked you this and I want to see if your answer changed.
Oh yeah, no, it will never change because I think this is super important, and I love this question. You ready? You know what it is, but I'm gonna do it. You can never say the wrong thing to the right person.
Mm. It's so true too, like in any situation, not just relationships, but friendships.
Yeah, absolutely. Respect and boundaries.
I love that. I love it. So, favorite food?
Oh my
Type of food,
gosh.
I guess favorite restaurant in the Scottsdale, Arizona, Phoenix area.
Well, you know, I'm a foodie, and unfortunately, I have one of the most sensitive stomachs in the world, as you know. Acid reflux is so bad, which, by the way, I have changed my diet a little bit and it's gotten a lot better. But I love Mexican food. I love Mexican food. And there's a really good spot if you're ever in Arizona, in the East Valley, down in the Chandler area, called Nando's. Really good Mexican food, really, really good. So that's one of my favorites. Just off the top of my head, I always go to Nando's. That's my go-to right there.
I love I'm the same way. So you can go have dinner. We're gonna have you're gonna have Mexican food, and you can have dinner with anybody you would want to. Who would that person be? It can be dead or alive. Who is that person and why?
Gosh, you're throwing out some really good ones, and then some people are going to be butthurt too. Um, okay, so a dead or alive.
And it can be personal. It could be a famous person. It could be family member. It could be someone you've looked up to. It can be anybody.
You know, I've said Jesus before because it's such a huge part, of my life. But this time I'm gonna kind of go outside the box to an individual that's seen a lot in their life, done a lot in their life, um, and just lots of questions. And that would be, oh gosh, I can't wait for the people to fall off when I say
Oh
this.
gosh, I'm actually nervous. I was like,
Yeah, yeah, it definitely would be. It would be Mr. Trump. It would definitely be Donald J. Trump. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I know some people are like, I can tell you right now, there's a lot of people listening going, gosh, this was going so well. And now they're doing the faith palm going, well, there goes Brandon. We no longer are a fan.
all right, well, no, I'm kidding. So favorite 90s jam.
Oh gosh, I love some Stone Temple Pilots. I actually got to see them before Scott Weiland passed away. I saw them in like 2010, I think. Stone Temple Pilots, some time to take her home. Her dizzy head is contemplating. Yeah, totally.
Karaoke hour now. So
There we go.
I love it. Actually, I was on a podcast the other day and he asked one of my favorite songs was. I told him, and he actually did like the intro, like he like started the podcast with my song, and I'm like, oh, you're gonna make me sing on this podcast.
What was the song?
It was a Bob Seger song.
Oh, Bob Seger's got voice like butter.
Oh yeah, if he goes back on tour, I missed his tour last time, and this was like 2 years before COVID, and so if he goes
Yeah.
back, I am definitely in for that.
I could get with some Bob Seger. That dude's got a voice for sure. Him and Chris Stapleton have two of the most distinct voices ever.
Oh yes, well Chris Stapleton, he's just like that's butter. That's like you don't have to like you don't have to like any of that, and you're just like, ooh, what is that? That is the voice of the angels.
Well, totally. I mean, and that's coming from a straight dude right here. That's like those guys, their voices. Whoo, I mean, they melt my heart.
Exactly, I love it. So you have a lot of changes happening. You obviously, are changing your focus. You went on a vacation. So we finally got to do this podcast and you kind of figure out what your content's going and your life coaching and your consulting and all your stuff. Do you have like any big projects coming up in the near future?
So big projects is kind of a loaded one because I feel like I always have something going on. I'm working on some new merch that I want to have released by spring. So I'm working on that. I'm working on getting an assistant hired because my organizational skills are just awful lately, and I need some help. So that's a big project. And now that I am consulting full time, I'm going to be making the announcement, which is fantastic. I'm going to be announcing that my books are open full time now for consulting. So hopefully my goal is to take on 6 to 8 clients a day, 5 days a week. So I'm amped, I'm pumped for it. And that is what I'm working on right now.
Which I think is great. What you've done, you've created a community with your social media. People that don't know the power of social media or social media platforms are missing out because you
Yeah.
have taken the time to create like kind of your community a little bit of a monster, and now
Mm.
it's like going to pay you really well, and you're going to be able to get clients, you're going to be able to do so many things. When you went into this, what was your like vision, or your maybe your branding, or what did you have those goals, or was it just like, oh my gosh, this is, I'd not expected this?
I really didn't expect it to go this well. The Lord's always blessed me throughout my whole life, and that gift that He put on my heart, I wanted to figure out a way. How am I going to shine that gift on the most people I can, and making sure that I'm going in the right direction? So I try and throw a lot of spirituality into my content because God made me this way. This is His gift, you know. Um, so yeah, it was very unexpected, and it's just I love relationships. It's what I do ever since I was a little boy, and I don't tell many people this, so this is kind of cool that I'm saying this on a podcast. Ever since I was a little boy, I had a great family life. I had no childhood trauma, anything like that. Um, but I've always loved the fact of a relationship. I can remember being a little boy and telling my mom, "Mom, I'm going to have a wife and kids one day." And I'd always dream about having a girlfriend. And I was always chasing girls. And I want to see people happy, love each other, and in healthy relationships with respect and boundaries. And that's my goal. That's what I want to do, to get as many people in this beautiful world to have respectful, honoring, long-term relationships, and change the stigma that is going around relationships, because nobody wants to work on anything in this day and age. And little do they know that they're going to get the same crap on a different plate. And if there's no toxicity and there's no abuse, you loved that person at one time, go back to those roots and love them and work together and grow together, because it's not easy. It's really not.
One of my really closest friends, she's very similar to that, and she always says, "I just love love." She always says that. I just
Yeah.
love love. I love all of the sappiness. I love seeing people fall in love. She goes, "I just love love," and I just have always loved when she says that. She just like gets emotional all the time for it, and I just like, I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. Same thing
So,
I do.
kind of with that whole thing, what is your personal mission statement?
You know, if I'm being completely honest, it's not like I've sat back and said, this is my complete mission in life, because my mind, I grasp onto so many things and it's always turning. And it's kind of a gift and a curse that when I'm locked and focused, I'm locked on, but then I also get distracted and have little side projects. So it's just really to live life with passion and not care about what others think and that validation. That's another downfall, is so many people are caught up in wanting to live somebody else's life. If you are not hurting anyone and you are happy and loving and doing what you're doing, who cares what anybody else thinks? Who cares what anybody else says? Do you, boo? That's it.
I love it. That's the personal looks. Do you, boo?
Yeah. Yeah.
So obviously we've talked about this many of times, the wonderful pandemic, um, political, this has been a crazy year, financially, emotionally, this year has just been, from pretty much next month, since a whole year ago, it's just been nuts.
Yeah.
And people have mentally, physically, emotionally gone through something. Do you have a piece of advice to someone listening that's maybe struggling with whatever aspect of the pandemic has brought?
As cliche as that sounds, we tend to forget our happy times, but we always remember pain. And I don't know why we're programmed that way. We just are. But I want people to know that that pain is temporary. Just like the amazing, beautiful things in your life that are temporary, so is the pain. And really, as you're in the thick of that storm and as you're going through it, as humans, we latch on to, oh my gosh, this is the worst. My life is awful. What am I going to do? But if you stop focusing on that and channel that into something else, I used gratitude, obviously, hence the name Mr. Gratitude. So if you're in that moment of despair and you're in that moment of, even maybe somebody has contemplated suicide before, if you take a step back and realize what you have, I'm telling you, those problems are going to get smaller and smaller and smaller until they're gone, because you realize how grateful you are. And gratitude brings abundance.
I love that. So if someone's listening and they want to connect with you, whether they want to hire you as a consultant or just start watching your content, get part of your Facebook group, how do they get a hold of you and how do they do that?
Great question. Because I have so much out there, the easiest, the best way is I don't really focus a lot on my Instagram because this is my opinion. Some people may disagree, but Instagram's dead. It's a dead platform. I don't focus my energy on it. But on my Instagram and on my TikTok, I have what's called a link tree. And in that link tree, it has links for everything, to my private Facebook community, to consulting, to my YouTube, to my podcast. So if you can go to TikTok, I am the only, I believe I'm the only Mr. Gratitude. It's Mr. underscore gratitude on TikTok. My podcast is Mr. Gratitude Presents Living with Gratitude. But really, it's that link tree. That link tree has my personal email. You can connect with me to book an appointment. Just like any therapist would, I have digital documents. You would simply sign a release of liability, and then a confidentiality agreement. Anything we discuss stays confidential, just like any therapist. And those are really the best ways to connect with me.
Perfect. And last thing, do you have any final thoughts or something you want to share with all of my listeners?
Yeah, I really want people to take a step back in their everyday lives and realize that no one's out to get you. Things happen in our lives. It's okay to have a difference of opinion, whether it's politically, spiritually, when it comes to sexuality, whatever it might be. It's okay. It is okay to agree to disagree, because at the end of the day, that person is your fellow human being. They're trying to do the best at life, just like you are. Give them a hug, smile at them. I know a lot of people are still wearing masks out there, but you can see a smile through a mask. Smile at them, say hi. I'm telling each and every one of you, a simple hi can change somebody's day. Kindness is going to make you feel better. It's going to make them feel better. When you're angry, you create tension in your body. You create low vibrations in your body. And guess what? They don't care if you're angry. It's only hurting you. So stop being so angry and love each other.
I love that. Was perfect. The funny thing with the mask, I had to do like a group photo and we had to wear masks, or we had to socially distance for the photo. And so we're all wearing masks. And it was so funny. We started all laughing at the same time because we're all smiling for the camera for this photo, for like a community photo. And we're like, no one can tell it. Like when your eyes, I guess you can see.
Can.
But we were laughing so hard. We're all like cheesing with the mask on.
That's awesome. Yeah, you can see it. You can see, you can definitely tell when somebody's smiling.
I know. Yeah, perfect. Well, thank you so much for giving me your time today. And I really appreciate it. And thank you so much.
It's always a pleasure, Tabitha. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Keeping Tabs. I'm Tabitha Crock, and every Monday I release a podcast about different community members here in North Idaho. And then we end the weeks on Fridays with a podcast about the things I'm passionate about: outdoors, adventures, sports, the van life, and even current events. So if you like what you heard, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube, Spotify, or iTunes. Thank you again. Now go be kind and do something great.